Hey, and thanks for joining us on this week's episode of For All Things Lexington, the only show dedicated to Lexington, South Carolina, and where a spade is always a spade. Here we'll talk to and about people, places, groups, things to do, and places to go in and around Lexington, South Carolina. I'm your host, Angela Barrett, and this is For All Things Lexington. Brought to you in part by GervaisStreetBridge.com, Columbia's most unforgettable free-to-list business directory. Hey guys, thanks for being with me today. Today I have Charlene Cassidy. She is a volunteer with the Homeward Bound Pet Rescue Organization. Thank you so very much for being with me today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and I have Diane Jolie here as a co-host today. She's my business partner in our other life, Home Matters, but she is a huge, dogs really, but she does some pet sitting for friends and family, and
Great.
Big advocate of pets in general, so I thought she would make a great co-host today and stir the pot a little.
I'm glad to be here with both of you.
Well, thanks again. So, again, you're a volunteer for the Homeward Bound Pet Rescue Organization.
Yes.
But everybody is a volunteer there.
That's correct. Everyone's a volunteer. We don't have any paid staff. Everyone, just contributes their time and their talents to help us help dogs in the area. We don't have a facility, so that does cut down a lot on our overhead. All of our dogs stay in foster homes until they're adopted. So we're a smaller organization, but we try to help as many dogs as we can.
Now, I know the organization, at least what I read, was founded by volunteers. When was this founded?
In 2010. So, yes. So we celebrated, it was May of 2010. So this year we celebrated our 13th anniversary. So it's been great. And I've been with the organization probably since about 2012, so early on.
Now, how many foster homes do you have? I know that's a big thing with rescues is finding enough
foster
fosters.
homes. Yes, that's a struggle with a lot of the foster-based rescues. We have, I think, probably 15 or 20. We could honestly use more. I think right now we have about 28 dogs in our care. Maybe a few more. We get, new ones come in, some get adopted out. So that number fluctuates. But we, at one time before COVID, we had over 70 dogs in our care. So that requires a lot of fosters.
Yeah.
During COVID, we had a high number of adoptions, as was the trend with a lot of rescues. Some of our fosters their fosters got adopted, decided to take a break. Not as many have come back. So we'd like to have more. We get calls and emails every day from people who find stray dogs, people who can no longer care for their animals. We also work with a lot of rural shelters in the area and pull dogs from there as well.
So now, give me the overall mission of what Homeward Bound Pet Rescue is.
Our mission is to help homeless, stray dogs that are in shelters find their forever.
Only dogs or cats?
Only dogs.
Okay.
We have had some cats in the past. Normally when we get requests to help cats, we'll refer them to other organizations that help cats. So we really deal mostly with dogs. Find their forever home. So when we do, when we screen applications from people, we try to make sure the home is a good fit for the dogs based on what we know about their personalities, their energy levels, those kinds of things. So we can talk about applications a little bit later, but we do screen our applications. Sometimes people get a little frustrated or impatient, but that's why.
Both for your foster as well as the people who are going to adopt?
Yes, our foster application is the same application you would fill out if you were wanting to adopt a dog for that. The reason for that is a little bit twofold. Sometimes people get a foster dog, they fall in love with it, and we have what we affectionately call a foster failure. So since they've already been screened through that same application, they can adopt the dog that they're fostering. We hope that they continue to foster. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But that's why we do that.
And so how do you find out about, I mean, is it from strictly call-ins?
A lot of times we'll get emails. We'll get an email from someone. We do have a Facebook page.
Yes.
And people will DM us on Facebook. We do get calls. Our phone number, since we don't have our facility, our phone number is an answering machine. So it may take more than, may take 24 hours for someone to get back to you. We try to check that regularly. The email is checked more regularly in the Facebook DM. So those are probably the best ways to contact us. But we get emails about getting help, and also the shelters that we work with regularly, if they have dogs that are coming off their stray hold that no one has claimed, they'll call us and see if we can pull them.
And so how many volunteers do you have right now?
Right now, our regular group of volunteers, probably about 10. And these are folks that come to our adoption events at PetSmart. And also folks who help us transport dogs to a vet. We have vets that we work with in the area. One of the vets is in Newberry. So we have a couple of volunteers who will drive and transport for medical care and so forth.
And how is the medical care provided for?
We live on donations. So we have a lot of regular donors. We do fundraisers, but we rely very heavily on donations. We don't get any kind of government fundings or government grants. So we rely heavily on fundraising, and we work really hard to do that. And we do different events throughout the year. Occasionally we'll have t-shirt sales. We go to events. We were recently at the Fall Fido Festival that Modern Companion puts on. They invited us to come. We had a booth there. They very generous to dog rescues and animal rescues in the area. They donated part of the proceeds to us and other rescues in the area.
Nice.
Organizations will hold fundraising events for us, which is really kind.
Was that at Crooked Creek Park?
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
I saw that. Yeah. Yeah.
So we do a lot of different things to try and raise funds. When we get a new dog into our rescue, new dog or puppy, they all see one of our veterinarians that we partner with. They get a wellness exam. Everybody gets age-appropriate vaccinations. Adult dogs that are 6 months or older get spayed or neutered before they're made available for adoption. We don't do every test you can to do for a dog, but sometimes dogs come in, they may be heartworm positive, they may have dental issues if they're older dogs, skin issues, whatever kind of medical issues, we make sure they get appropriate treatment for their medical issues. Puppies get their initial vaccinations, and we take care of vaccinations up to the point that they're adopted, so they will have age-appropriate vaccinations at the time of adoption. Adopters would be responsible for subsequent vaccinations. And then, of course, when they're old enough, we will pay for their spay or neuter.
And so, I can't remember if we talked about this before we started or after. So right now you have, did you say 20?
Probably about 28 dogs, yes.
28 dogs. Okay, and how many foster homes?
We have probably 20 to 25.
Okay.
Some fosters have can foster multiples. I think I told you when we were getting set up that I foster puppies. So I usually have more than one foster.
Sure.
Some folks, might have 2 fosters. Some folks have 1. It really just depends on what the foster is able to do. I'm not married. I don't have children. So I can deal with a few more dogs.
Sure.
Some folks, you have kids, you have a busy life. You have your own pets usually. Most of our fosters do.
Right.
So, one dog, but we appreciate any help we can
That
get.
brings me to a question is, somebody comes to you, they're interested in fostering. How do you make sure their animals are going to be okay with these
Sometimes
new
it's a little bit trial and error. It is. Usually they have an idea of how well their animals get along with other dogs. And of course, when we take an animal, especially if we pull an animal from a shelter, you don't know a lot about its history.
Right.
So you kind of have to find out. And we talk to them about proper introductions between dogs and even cats. Not all of our fosters have cats, but some do. Or they may have other
birds.
or other animals. You just don't know. But we discuss proper introductions and work with them to, for that kind of cool down period so everyone can get used to one another. Sometimes, there's a situation where the foster, something between the animals just doesn't work right. And we'll have to move an animal, and we just deal with that as it comes along.
Now, you were talking about the puppies. So is there any sort of, obviously not formal, but any sort of training that you try to do with these puppies? I mean, like potty training and basic commands.
I work very hard on potty training, learning to sleep in the crate, and manners, basic manners. We don't do a whole lot. Some of them I'll do very, very basic commands, maybe sit, and stay. I don't do a lot of things that get them too used to their name, because oftentimes their name will get changed. But very hard on potty training at my house.
Yeah. Now, after they are rescued, I mean, do they go immediately, to like one of the volunteers' house, or to you just have a foster home that is opened, or how does that work?
Yes, we have one of our volunteers keeps track of the foster home situation. Who has a dog, who might be taking a short break, who could take another dog. So we kind of have someone that keeps track of that. We try to, especially if we're pulling dogs from shelters, we try to get them to our vet first.
Yes.
So that they can get their wellness exam first. So oftentimes, puppies in particular, they have to get dewormed and, just so we want to make sure that we're not sending them to a home without proper medications, or if they might have something more serious. So we often try to do our very best to get them to the vet first. That's where the folks that kind of transport our pets come in really handy. Those volunteers, they can pick up from a shelter and go directly to a vet's office. Sometimes the pets will stay overnight and they can bring them back to their foster home, and that kind of gets everybody ready. That gives the foster an opportunity to get ready to get a new dog. We have.
So what has been the success so far with finding these dogs forever homes? I know we were talking about, you mentioned that sometimes the black dogs are a little bit harder to find homes. And I thought, well, how odd, because Marley was a black lab. Well, a mix. We think lab and boxer, but
right. Sometimes it's just, it's just superstitions. Black dogs, sometimes they look bizarre. A little scarier. Same thing with black cats. It's just that little bit of superstition.
Okay, now black cats I can understand. Black dogs I could not. Yeah, it's too bad Marley's not here. He was a shelter dog rescued by my son, and we had him for years and years, and my son just came and got him about 3 or 4 weeks ago. But he's about almost 15 now, and he's sweet and he's old, but he is one of those that a needy, greedy baby. Mm-hmm. If you're not touching me, then something's wrong.
Something's wrong. That's right.
But yeah, he's sweet. But my son has him now. So what is tell me the adoption process.
So we have an application, and you can go online. You can download those and fill it out. The best way to get it back to us is to email it to us. Mm-hmm. And then we ask a lot of questions on the application. We ask, do you own or rent your home? Sometimes when you have a lease, either a home or even an apartment, there may be breed restrictions, there may be size restrictions. So we want to make sure that we're not adopting a dog. We check with the landlord. We want to make sure we're not adopting out a dog that would violate those restrictions.
Sure.
That's going to end up getting returned to us. That's what I say when we try to find the right fit, for the dog. We ask you if you have a yard that has a fence, how high is that fence? We don't require adopters to have fences, but there are some dogs that we know will jump a 4-foot chain link fence. So they need at least, the doctor needs to have a fence that would be 6 foot high. We know the energy level of the dogs. We also ask you if you have pets now. We ask you for a vet reference. We make sure that you keep your pets current on their vaccinations. For dogs, make sure they're kept on heartworm preventative consistently. Heartworm is a big problem, especially in the Southeast. Very prevalent. A lot of adult dogs that enter shelters have heartworm disease. So we want to make sure that we have our dogs, anyone that comes in, tested for heartworm disease. The adults, if they have heartworm, we treat them. We start treating puppies as they come in with heartworm, heartworm prevention. Mm-hmm. So we want to make sure that if they're being adopted out to someone, that someone is consistent with treating for heartworm. If you haven't had a dog, that's not a detriment. That doesn't mean we won't adopt you, but we do kind of interview you after after you submit your application. We ask for 3 personal references as well. We do check references, but we ask a lot of questions, and sometimes people, like I said, get frustrated, but we want to make sure that we have a good fit for the dog.
Now, how long would you say the whole process takes from when you put the application in to when you actually?
It could take less than a week, as long as we can get the information that we're asking for.
And you don't require any sort of home visits?
We don't require a home visit, but we do reserve the right to do a home visit if we feel like we need to. Sometimes situation comes up, we just feel like we want to do a home visit. So we do reserve the right to do a home visit.
Yeah, very thorough.
Yes. Once your application is approved, once you have an approved application, if we don't, that we have our adoption events only kind of 2 Saturdays a month, we will often let the dogs go on a trial to the people until the next adoption event where they could come in. We do have a contract that we sign. We consider it a binding contract. Things in there that you agree to provide appropriate medical care, vaccinations. Your dogs will live indoors.
Yeah, in the South, that's pretty important.
Yeah.
It gets hot.
There's nothing wrong with being outside. We want one of the things that we really want with our dogs, and it is part of our mission statement too, getting back to that, is we want the dog to be adopted into a secure and loving family where they're treated as part of the family. They're not adopted and then consigned to living in the backyard. We want them to be a part of the family. So that's very important to us.
Yeah. Thanks for hanging out with us today, and we hope you enjoyed the show. If you'd like to be a guest on the show or have a person, business, idea, an event that Lexington needs to know more about, email me, local@forallthingslexington.com. That's the number 4, y'all.
This episode was brought to you by the real estate agents at Home Matters, building on service, relationships, and on what matters to you. Find out how you matter and how they can help you with buying and selling your home at homematterssc.com.